Let's make this cute little pumpkin pincushion. It's about 3 by 3 finished. So you'll need to cut your felt two 3-inch squares. And I'm using this cream color for my background piece. So I'm just cutting 3 inches up, and then I'll cut it into 2 pieces. You can make this pincushion whatever size you want. I just chose 3 inches by 3 inches. So this rectangle is 3 by 6. I'm just going to fold it in half and then cut that middle piece there. Once you have your 2 pieces, I like to make these corners rounded. So I'm just going to cut those sharp edges off each of the corners. Next up, we'll cut our pumpkin. So I like to take one of my background pieces and then just kind of use that as a guide for my pumpkin, the beginning of my pumpkin. And all I'm going to do is cut that little rectangle, and I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to make a curved cut all the way around. And this might take a few tries, so I'm just going to cut a curve and then keep testing it to see where it is on, as far as size goes. I'm just going to cut a little bit more off that curve, a little bit trial and error here. And then once you get it to where you like it, you can cut your stem. So all you'll need is a little tiny piece of brown, a little brown rectangle. And I like to curve in the sides just a tiny bit. And then I like to tuck that behind my pumpkin piece, and now we're ready to attach them. So I'm using 3 strands of embroidery floss. So they come in 6, so you'll just have to split it in half. You can always use all 6 of them too, that's your choice. So I'm just going to split into 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and thread my needle. And just a reminder, the eye of your needle should be pretty big and your needle tip should be sharp. So I'm going to thread my needle and then tie a knot at the end. Starting from the back of your project, you'll want to hide the knot in the back. And to start, I'm just going through both the stem and the pumpkin just to kind of tack it down. And you're going to use a whip stitch to attach your pumpkin to the front of your felt piece. Once you've gone all the way around your pumpkin, you'll want to finish up with your stem. If you run out of thread or you need to start a new color, make sure to go into the very last stitch on the back. You'll take your needle through that last stitch, create a little loop, pull your needle through that to tie a knot to secure that thread, and then trim it, and then you can rethread and continue sewing. So now you have the front of your pincushion finished. You'll want to now sew the two pieces together using the blanket stitch. So take your needle through between both of the layers to hide your knot between. And when you do the blanket stitch, to start, you'll want to do a duplicate stitch, which just means one stitch on top of the other, and then you'll take your needle through that loop to secure it before you start. When doing a blanket stitch, you'll take your needle through both layers, and before you pull it all the way through, take your needle through that little loop at the end, and that'll carry a string across your seam. And you're going to continue the blanket stitch all the way around, leaving one little corner to stuff at the end. Make sure when you finish your thread that you tie a knot at the end to secure it before rethreading your needle. Remember to hide your knot between the two layers before continuing again. And you'll do your duplicate stitch and then continue on. Before you finish closing up, leave this little corner open, and I'm just going to leave my needle and thread attached, and then I'll get back to closing it up after I stuff it. You all want to use polyfill, and then I've also just used all those little scraps that we used earlier, and I stuffed my pincushion with that. I actually like the way that it gave it a little bit more weight and a little bit more density. So if you have any scraps left, you can go ahead and put them in now. And then I added some polyfill just to fill in the rest of it. You want it pretty densely packed for your pincushion. I like to try to pack mine away from that opening just while I'm sewing so that I can sew a little bit easier, and then afterwards I can kind of redistribute that filling. And then once you have it filled up, you're just going to continue your blanket stitch until you get to the end. And you'll finish just like before, tying a knot. And then hiding your thread. Go ahead and cut your thread and you are all finished.